Well, howdy there, folks. Welcome back. I hope you're all doing really good. Well, we have something a little bit different on the bench here today. This one rolled in a few days ago, and this was purchased by one of my uncles at a garage sale. He actually found this in a guy's barn, from what I understand. He took it to a local music store, and they told him that it was a Kawai Kingston from 1965, a Redburst. I think they're correct, actually, from the research I've done. It's a little difficult to find out any info on these. They weren't in the catalog from what I can conjure up for information, so it's a little tricky to find out a lot about these. Now, we'll get into the history real quick here in a second, and I'll kind of explain that as best I can. It's a little sketchy, some of it, but in any case, a pretty cool instrument. Made in Japan. Again, this would be around 1965-ish. Now, I've looked these up. Some of them come up as Gaiatone, Taisco. We'll get into that in a second, like I said. First thing we're going to do is just check it all out real quick. Now, I was asked to see if I can get the tremolo arm out of this one, which I've heard this was kind of rare the way it was set up, too. A lot of them are on the external part of this here where the arm plugs in. This one's a little different. It's broke off inside there, so we're going to see if we can get that out. And I also noticed that the nut was broke slightly right here, so we'll see. I may actually fill that in with some bone dust and glue. I'm trying to keep this original if I can. So let's plug it in, see if it makes any noise. Okay, I think we have noise. A little intermittent there. I'm really not sure what the switching's all about yet either. I'll have to kind of look that over when I take the guard off and see if we can determine what's going on as far as the switching goes. If you guys know anything about that, you can chime in too. If you know any info on this guitar in general, that would be appreciated as well. So it does function. It makes noise. We have signal coming through the guitar. That's a good sign. Okay, so let's just go over some of the info that I found out about this guitar and the Kawai company. So we're talking Kawai, K-A-W-A-I, like the pianos, keyboards that we all know, and that's kind of what they were famous for. So from what I found out on the interwebs, it says that the company was started by a gentleman from Japan. I believe his pronunciation of his first name is Koichi. It's K-O-I-C-H-I, Kawai. Now, I'm not sure about that, so correct me if I'm wrong. He started this in August of 1927, from what I found out. So that's going way back there. And he was known for making, pianos, grand pianos, and then later it was electronic keyboards and things like that. And also, he helped get the Yamaha company off the ground and established too, from what I've read. And then eventually went in a separate direction and started into producing guitars, amongst other things, and instruments. But so that started in the mid-50s, and then he purchased the Taisco company in 1967. So this predates that, I'm guessing, around 64 to 65. I've also read like these were produced from 63 to 66. Now, again, it's kind of sketchy about, the information available out there on these. So, I'm trying my best here. Now, Sears actually sold Takai, Tysco, and also Telestar, Kimberly, and Domino brands. So these can be, similar amongst these brands from what I understand as well. So again, Tysco was his main outlet, though, from what I understand. Now, I also heard that they produce guitars for Kawai Company. So, again, seems like this guy was all over the place, and he had his fingers and everything. And eventually, they shifted back into pianos, but they also produced like bass guitars and whatnot into the 1980s. Again, it's quite a journey, and some blues musicians actually played some guitars in this vein, like Hound Dog Taylor, amongst a few others. So I believe they even made a Hound Dog Taylor model. So again, if you guys know any info about these, I would appreciate it. This guitar will be for sale. My uncle's a collector and an antique dealer, and he doesn't play guitar, so without a doubt this one will be on the chopping block, and I just wanted to pass that along as well. Alright, let's take this thing apart and see what's going on. I actually broke down and purchased a specific set of screwdrivers just for guitar repair. I have a bazillion screwdrivers, but I get sick of looking for them, and I figured I'd get a brand new set. That way, you don't strip these screws out. A lot of these screws on guitar hardware, as you probably already know, are very soft and very cheap, and they strip really easy. So I do recommend getting a good set of screwdrivers if you're going to do this. Alright, let's start right here on the bridge cover. This is a polished metal pickguard too, from what I have gathered, which is quite different and pretty cool at the same time. Okay. Yep, well, the tremolo arm is snapped off inside. We're going to see if we can get it out. We may try a screw extractor or something like that. I think what I will do first is remove this. I'm not sure if I can get under there, underneath the saddle that this is through, where it's broke off, but sometimes if they wound it in really tight, sometimes you'll have some of it protruding through the bottom, which you may be able to grab and then worm the rest of it down through the bottom instead of trying to pull it out through the top. So that's something we're going to look at as well. Okay, off with the strings here. And we're going to check the neck. There is a truss rod in this, so I was told it functioned and works, but I haven't tried it myself personally, so we're going to check that out too. See what kind of shape the neck's in as far as, forward bow or back bow, especially with the strings off it. Okay, so this adjustable bridge is a little funky. That just kind of sits on top there, the saddle section at least. Alright, I gotta try to get that string drove out of there. I gotta have a different screwdriver. No, I didn't use my new one for it, but I do keep certain ones on the bench, and kind of a quick go-to batch of screwdrivers. But I do like this kit, like I said. It just makes it really fast and easy, and they fit good. It's a 24 3/4 inch scale too. I wanted to add that. Let's see. I got my straight edge out here on the fretboard. See if I can find some common ground here where it will fit. Yeah, we've got a ton of back bow here. That's just like a teeter-totter. Let's see if the truss rod works. Well, it moves. I'm going to loosen it a little bit and see what happens. Okay. Well, that did the trick. Flattened it out pretty good. It does have a little swoop down here around the 3rd to 4th fret, which is not uncommon. Sometimes that happens. You know, like I said, this was pulled out of a barn. It was probably sitting in there for years. Through the blistering cold winters of Maine, hot summers. You know, I guess it's probably lucky that it's in one piece. That's pretty harsh conditions, to say the least, but I've seen a lot of guitars pulled out of attics, basements, barns, you know, and some of them are rough, but it really is surprising sometimes how well they survive. Anyhow, that's a good sign. We need to have that truss rod working, or, you know, this is probably not even worth messing with. I did want to show you guys the back of this too. It's in pretty good shape. Looks to be one piece. Looks like maple. And it says Japan on the neck plate here, which is quite small, actually. A little different. And of course, when I just flipped the guitar over, one of the tuner grommets fell out. And it's quite sloppy in the hole. And that's something you got to watch. A lot of times it's good just to put a piece of tape over it, or run a guitar string or something through the tuners so they don't fall out. I think I'll do that right now. Looks like electrical tape is going to handle the task at hand. Okay, that is a good idea, trust me. I've lost those before, especially on old acoustics, and I've looked for them on the floor of the shop on my hands and knees for hours before. I've had, you know, a magnet that you use on a construction site to pick up nails. I've tried everything. Sometimes you find them, sometimes you don't. The problem is a lot of these are oddball sizes, so replacing them means you got to replace them all sometimes. Okie doke. Pretty funky trim system I wanted to add. So, excuse me, I have these two springs here hooked to the tail block, if you will. There's actually two bolts there that hold a little rectangle piece that the springs hook to, and then they hook to this, which I guess you'd call the saddles here, or the, that's not the saddles, it's actually where the string, the bald ends of the strings go through these little barrels, if you will. Now there's a flathead screwdriver slot here on each end, so this must come apart, I'm guessing, which may help me. So I'm going to take this off and see what it looks like. All right. I'm going to change screwdrivers. I don't like the noise that one's making. It's slipping a little bit. There we go. If they slip at all, they're just going to strip. So make sure you get the right tool for the job. Well, I hope everybody had a nice holiday over the 4th of July, if you guys celebrate. It was pretty nice and laid back, for me at least, and the weather was pretty decent. I do appreciate the views and nice comments too as well on the last video that I posted, which was just a basic little guitar line. If you guys are new to the channel, I have a lot of videos on guitar lessons as well as guitar repairs, demos, amps, you name it, it's probably out there. I have a little over 600 videos posted to this channel, so feel free to check out the playlist. I try to organize them as best I can. Sometimes I get a little screwed up, but that's just part of the gig. Okay, last screw. Alright, well, you know, the paint, first thing I notice is the paint is really close to the, color underneath this bridge, which has not been exposed to any light, obviously. I don't think the guitar was exposed to much either. Okay, so you can see the flathead screw on each end here. I'm not really sure how this all comes apart, but we are about to find out. Now here's something I just noticed. If you look at this bridge plate, it's got quite a bend here, right? Right where that trem arms broke off, and you can see that they wound it all the way down through that barrel. It bottomed out on the plate, and that's what snapped it. So possibly this may be removed. We'll see what we can do. All right, we're going to unhook these springs. I guess they really don't need to be removed, but I'm going to take them out anyway. I don't want to lose them, so. Okay, now, let's see if I can get this out of the bridge plate. Okay. That come right out now. We do have quite a bit protruding through the bottom here. I'm hoping I can get a hold of that and turn that and pull that down through this way. I got to look at the top side and make sure there's nothing really sticking out that would hinder it from going down through the threads. We'll spray that with some lubricant too, and that should help it. All right, well, get some lubricant sprayed in there. I'm just going to grab this with some pliers, and it is moving. Thank goodness. Yeah, that's going to thread right out. Perfect. Boy, you don't always get this lucky. Now, sometimes what you may have to do is drill down into the piece that's broke off and use something that's called a bolt extractor or screw extractor. I have a kit here somewhere. Basically what it is like a left-handed tap. So you drill a hole to the appropriate size that you're going to use for a screw extractor. They call them easy outs too. Mechanics use these a lot. What happens is you drill the hole in, you thread this in. It has teeth that cut threads in there like a tap. It goes in left-handed most oftentimes, and that way, as you tighten it, it cuts threads in there, and then it seats down in, and then actually becomes part of the piece that's broke off, so you can actually take a wrench or a socket and back that out. I don't recommend using a drill or anything like that, but the other option is the way that I'm doing it. If there's any sticking out on the bottom, sometimes you can get lucky and grab it with some pliers. Now, if there's not enough there to really grab it with pliers, let's say there's just a little bit, maybe a couple threads sticking out. Something you can try is taking, like a hacksaw blade or a Dremel tool with a thin cutting wheel on it, cut just a flat slot in there, and then you can use a flathead screwdriver to back that out. Now, none of these are guaranteed. This is just stuff that I've, used at times and had good results. Now, there is a little bit of a barb or something on the top where that broke off, but it's not putting up much of a fight, and it's coming out pretty easy. Now, I just want to make sure it is coming out easy because we don't want to damage the threads if we can help it. Okay, there it is. I'll find out what the threads are. I may or may not have a trem arm for it. Some reason, you know how it goes, we lose them. At least I have over the years. I've lost a few Stratocaster ones for some reason. I never really played with a tremolo arm a lot. Back when I was playing gigs a lot, I was using Super Strats back in the 80s. Just because they stayed in tune good, and 80s music, you needed to dive bomb here and there and do that kind of stuff. So a lot of the strats and stuff that I'd pull out at gigs once in a while, I just wouldn't use the trem arm because of tune instability and things like that, but that's just personal. One other thing we're going to need to do is straighten this out, which isn't a big deal. We'll put it in the vise. I may even just tap on it. Now that does say Japan on that as well. Get it going the right direction here. Again, I think this guitar is 100% original from what I can tell so far. It does have this little adjustable bridge, just intact and not stripped. Now, I've heard these pickups were really unique as well. I can't wait to get this up and running and restrung. And I heard they had a nice kind of a bright, glassy, unique kind of sound. Mentally, in my mind, I'm thinking like Jerry Garcia kind of tone, maybe. A lot of the Tyscos and harmonies I played from this vintage, you can achieve that kind of mid-rangey brightness, which is pretty unique, honestly, and quite useful in a studio situation sometimes. Or if you're playing, a gig with another guitar player, it's a good way to, separate from the other guy frequency-wise, so you're not just right in the same frequency zone and you can't tell one guitar from the other. That kind of thing. All right, well, that's probably going to wrap this one up. This is getting a little lengthy. I'm just going to fly you guys over the guitar real quick. I have not even wiped this off with a cloth or anything. Some pretty substantial check marks here. They're finished cracks. They're not through the wood or anything. Now let's take a peek at this shiny pick guard. Not a ton of scratches. There's a few. Again, I think when I wipe this down, it's going to clean up quite nice. I don't think anybody played this a ton, to be honest with you. I think this actually probably did sit in a barn for a long time. Literally no buckle rash here, so some scratches here and there, probably just from getting moved around, and some more checking, like I said. And it does have some on the neck. Now we got a mahogany neck here by the looks of it. And that looks like maple to me as far as the body. Now I've seen a few different configurations where they were using, not necessarily on this model, but guitars of this caliber were using mahogany bodies and sometimes maple necks on these too. So the info's a little sporadic and sparse, but, you can determine what you have by just identifying the wood, and that may help you too, in identifying which model and which guitar you have. So pretty cool, honestly. I think this is going to be a fun guitar for somebody to own and play. The nice thing is it's going to function. The truss rod works. The electronics seem to be working. A little dirty. We'll clean the pots up and whatnot in the next video, and I'll try to get this thing plugged in and playable by then. We do need to oil the fretboard. Looks to be rosewood. Got some grain going on here, which is pretty cool. Should look nice, cleaned up. And in the meantime, I'm going to fix that nut and oil the fretboard up. Now, as far as fret wear, not much. I mean, there's really no grooves. There's one groove right there, which could be from it hitting something or somebody dropping something on it. The reason I say that is because there's no wear on the frets on either side of it. So it probably got dinged, hit, something hit the string, and then dented the fret wire. So we'll look that over, probably have to crown them and clean them up and whatnot. The fret edges are a little sharp, but I expected them to be a lot worse, honestly, for the situation this was found in. So again, they're out there, people. You got to pull over if you see a sign out by the road. And I've said this many times. Even if you don't see a guitar on the lawn, just pull over and look the sale over for a minute and ask the people that are running the garage sale if they have any musical instruments, guitars, drums, or whatever you may be after. They may not have one, but something, a lot of times they'll start thinking about it, and before you know it, you're going to hear something like, oh, my brother-in-law right down the road has a couple in his barn, and da-da-da. And that's how this happens. So don't be afraid to ask. It's not a really offensive thing to ask somebody about that. I mean, after all, they're having a sale on their lawn or garage, and they're looking to get rid of stuff. They may have a guitar themselves, and they just forgot to bring it out. Oh, yeah, there's one in the closet, or there's one up in the attic. It happens. So anyway, folks, I really do appreciate all the views, comments, and any info on this is also appreciated. I hope you guys found this useful. I know there's somebody out there with a tremolo arm snapped off in their guitar, so they can be, troublesome to remove sometimes. I got very lucky on this one for sure, so, which will also, kind of help with the value of this thing. I'm guessing there's probably another one of these out there with the same thing. Anyway, I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoy this kind of stuff. I've got some more videos coming up as soon as I can get time to shoot them, and we'll see you guys real soon. Be good. Okie doke.